Hey guys, welcome to this Buttercream Stripes cake tutorial. Let's get started. So this cake is going to be a white and red striped cake. First, I'm just adding some white buttercream to the top of this 8-inch cake. I'm just kind of smoothing it with a large offset spatula, just trying to get it as smooth as possible. The top actually doesn't really matter that much. It's going to be the very top tier of the cake, and it's going to have a chocolate drip and a bunch of other fun stuff. Adding some white buttercream to the sides of the cake. You kind of want to make sure you add a lot of buttercream, but if you don't, we can always go back and add some more, as you will see that I do a little bit later. So just make sure you get it on the side of the cake kind of as smooth as you can. After that, just clean up the top of the cake by smoothing the buttercream from the outside into the center. Now we are going to be using the bengal striped comb from Ester Cakes. I will put a link in the description. So what you want to do is you want to hold that cake comb right next to the bottom of the cake board and hold that still while you rotate your turntable. And as you're going to see, it starts making those indentions. And you'll see where you need to add some more buttercream. This step is actually super important. You want to make sure this part is near perfect if you want the best stripes. So what you want to do is add buttercream to those parts where you can see it doesn't stick out as far as the other stripes. You see more towards the top how those stripes are more pronounced, and at the bottom you can't really see them that much. So I am adding a good amount of buttercream. I need to fill in all those areas so that when you do go over it again with that striped comb, you see those nice stripes. I'm going to go over the cake again with the striped comb just to see if I've added enough buttercream. And it looks like there's a few minor areas that do need some more buttercream. Let me just go over it again. You kind of want to put a little bit of pressure to make sure that you get those stripes real nice. Right here in the center, you can tell that I do need some more buttercream. Let's go ahead and add a little bit more. For this step, you will go over the cake quite a few times. You do need to make sure these white stripes are near perfect if you are going for that perfect stripe. I am doing white and red, and I do want them like super perfect for this cake. So I am going to keep going over it multiple times before those stripes are really pronounced. There's a couple of tiny little areas that I need to put some more buttercream up on the top too. You can tell the difference there. So those are going to get some more buttercream, and I will keep going over it until it's quite near perfect. When you are doing this, you want to make sure the stripes that stick out are the ones that are kind of perfect. The stripes that go in, the indented ones, don't worry about those. Those are going to get filled in with your second color. Once you think it looks good, and to me this part looks great, you just want to clean up the top of your cake, and you want to pop it in the fridge for at least a half hour. And this is what it should look like once you've completed the first step of your stripes. And now we're going to move on to the colored part. For this second color that goes into the indented stripe, I do like to put the buttercream into a piping bag. It just makes it a lot easier to add that color into that little indented area. So I'm going to go ahead and add the red into the indented area on all of those stripes, even up at the top. Now I'm going to use the other side of the striped cake comb. This is the smooth side. You can also use a smooth hound comb from Ester Cakes. Now this part does look like it gets really messy. Just don't worry, we're going to keep going over it until it's perfect. The first swipe around the cake will show you where you need to add a little bit more of the colored buttercream that goes on the indented stripe. I'm just adding a little bit extra red where there's not enough. The red stripe needs to come out as far as that white stripe does, so that's why I'm adding a little bit more buttercream. After I do that, I'm going to go ahead and smooth it again and again and again until it's absolutely perfect. So you might be a little bit worried seeing all of that red buttercream on top of the white. However, your white buttercream should be nice and firm, as we did put it in the fridge for at least a half hour. So when you are scraping it away, only the red should come off right now. When you do put more pressure, you'll start to see some of the white, but you do have to take away all of that red first. In between scrapings, I do like to clean my cake comb with a clean paper towel. If there's any little indentions inside of the red, I'm adding a little bit more red buttercream. You do want the red to stick out as far as the white, so if there are any little indentions, I'm just filling those in right now before I do another scrape. Now this scrape, I am holding the board all the way at the back and spinning it around. I'm trying to make sure that it's smooth all the way around, cleaning off my cake comb once again. And we are going to scrape again, a little bit more pressure this time. You just basically want to keep repeating it until you don't see any more red on top of that white buttercream. So you will have to scrape quite a few times. But the white, like I said, is nice and firm. So it should be pretty easy right now. Just give it a little bit more pressure. And now you'll start to see some of that white buttercream come up with that red, which is totally fine. You want them to stick out the same distance. And this is what it looks like so far. You can see that there's, it's pretty good, but there's a tiny bit of red, little specks in the white, which you could be done at this point. However, sort of a perfectionist and I don't want to see any tiny little red specks. So I am using a pen blade. Now what this is a little retractable blade, and it's very small so I can get into these small little areas. I'm just scraping away the red buttercream, and then I will fill that in with some white in a bit. But as you can see, it's small, it fits into these little areas. I'm just getting any little red specks out right now. Now that I've got all those red specks out, I am using the pen blade again to put some of that white buttercream in those little areas that I scooped out. I am using the pen blade because it's tiny. I could use another cake decorating tool, but this one's nice and tiny. I only use it for cake decorating, and it does get cleaned off after every use. So we just add some of that white buttercream in there before we go ahead and scrape it once again. Now we are ready to scrape the cake again. Make sure your cake comb is cleaned off at the very edge where it's going to touch your cake. And I'm doing one final scrape. Your cake should be perfect after this. And it is. So pop that cake in the fridge for 30 minutes or more. And that'll firm up the top of the buttercream. I'm using a brand new razor blade on the top. So this is the same method where you would cut off the top of some fondant when you would panel a cake. The only difference with buttercream is you want to do these small little scrapes. If I try to scrape the whole entire thing, that red buttercream can fall on top of the white buttercream, and then it kind of makes a mess. So that's why I just do it in little tiny sections. Here's a close-up view of the top of the cake. And I'm just using that razor blade in little sections to take off some of that red buttercream that's on top. And I'm not worried about the very top of the cake for this particular cake because I am doing a chocolate drip. But if this was the top of a cake and you had nothing on top, you just want to make sure you clean up the white buttercream that's on top so that you don't see any of those little lines or indentions. And that's it. That's how you get perfect buttercream stripes. And this is what the cake looked like that I made, and those stripes were definitely perfect. Please like and subscribe for more videos.